This podcast is sponsored by Camera Museum of London and Tang Cigars of 44 Museum Street, London. Welcome to a Fish Out of Water podcast. This is your host, Richard Lipman. Today we are interviewing Lydia Kavina for a full demonstration of the theremin performed and shown by virtuoso Lydia Kavina. Please click on the video. There are extras and additional scenes and information, as well as wonderful visual examples and wonderful musical melodies that are played.
My name is Lydia Kavina. I play the theremin.
What is the theremin?
Theremin has its name after its inventor, Theremin. It was invented in 1919, so it is a very early electronic musical instrument. And it's very special because you touch nothing when you play it. Actually, you move your hands near the antenna. Two antenna affect control two aspects of the sound. This is for the volume and the pitch. So right vertical antenna is for the pitch and left horizontal antenna is for the volume.
Can you play us some famous tunes?
Like this one. Oh gosh, something happens. Yeah, something like that. Sorry, something happened with my hand. It's not quite nice. Yeah.
I understand there's also good vibrations.
Yeah, Good Vibrations melody is by Beach Boys. It's. Am I still here? I'm not sure. It's probably. No, I dropped it.
No worries.
How about to celebrate everything, because something happened to my voice and something happened to my.
I tell you what. So now, same sort of thing. You cup it, put it inside.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can hear it there. Okay, no worries.
Yeah. Okay.
Nice,
Sounds
thanks.
good. So
Okay,
how
I'm
is
just going
it?
to relink, reattach. Okay, so let me put this on this side. Mm-hmm.
Would you notice if
It's
it
omni,
if
so it'll pick up the direction, this direction of the voice.
yeah, okay. Sorry.
It's okay.
Let me check. Okay.
Can we move this downwards a tiny bit?
I have to check.
Just in case, yeah.
Yeah, I have to check. Something happened to my fingers.
I see. Is that to do with the cold, or has it happened before?
Actually, not. It's probably from Karen, maybe.
Oh.
Something happened.
Okay, so we can start again very quickly, just in case we missed something. So here we go. That's wonderful. Can you tell us your name and occupation, please?
Yeah. My name is Lydia Kavina, and I play the theremin.
What's this theremin?
It's an early electronic music instrument. It was invented in 1919 by Theremin. That's where the title comes from. Yeah, the theremin, and it's played without being in touch. you have to move your hands near to your antenna. There's a vertical antenna for the pitch. If you move your hand away from the antenna, the sound gets lower. And if you move your hand close to the antenna, it's higher pitch. With my left hand near the horizontal left antenna, I change the volume. Louder volume is when the hand is away from the antenna. And closer to the antenna, it gets softer.
This instrument, is it powered by electricity?
Yes, of course. It needs electricity. So that's why it could only be possible to be invented when the electricity actually wasn't used.
Is it known as the first electrical
instrument? Sometimes we would say so, because this is the first electronic musical instrument which was produced and which stay alive still.
We're going to go into various aspects of the theremin. Before that, is it possible to play a few famous tunes?
Yeah, okay. So since we have Chaplin in the background.
That's beautiful. Is it that your body is fully immersed?
Well, my body is actually within this electromagnetic field which is around the antenna, and any movement of my body, so it's not just the hands, yeah, any movement, even my breath, so everything affects the sound.
Wow. How did this come to be invented?
Theremin was a very bright person. He was musician and physicist at the same time, and he always wanted to create absolutely new way of controlling music, because he was a cellist and he knew how much power and how much energy, physical energy, you have to put into to produce that lyrical sound from the cello. And he wanted to find a way that that the control itself would look lyrically as well, and wouldn't involve so much sweating, you know, by pushing.
But how did he have access to electronics and all of that?
Oh, he was quite young at that time. When he invented, he was 24 years old. But he already experimented with electricity since he was a child and teenager. So it took already some years in his teenage.
And where was this?
It was in Russia, in St. Petersburg.
Okay, and then he moved to America, is that correct?
Well, when he invented the theremin, he started to give concerts with that, and he had tour everywhere in Soviet Union, and then he played in Europe, and then he moved to United States and stayed there for 11 years. So it was from 1927 until 1938.
And the reaction in the Soviet Union, what was it when he invented this sound?
Well, actually, that belonged to the time very well, because that was the time of changes in everything, politically, economically,
Right.
and well, that was the time of revolution, Soviet Revolution.
What year was that?
The revolution was in 1917, and the invention was in 1919. So it was the time when culture, people wanted to explore new ways in the arts, in music, everywhere. So that really, that really was quite appreciated, like a new way of making music.
Interesting. I'm wondering whether you could play some other tunes that are known.
So when we are talking about that period of Russia, I probably would play a song that Theremin really liked to play. This is Volga Botman's song.
That's fantastic. There's a few others, right, as well. Later on, the Beach Boys and Good Vibrations use something.
That's right. Good Vibration song by Beach Boys. When they recorded it, they asked Robert Moog to make a special theremin for them that would be easier to play. So in the end, they couldn't really move in the air. They had to slide on some scale to produce this melody, but the sound is of the theremin. That's the famous melody.
Right. Yeah. What's the connection with Robert Moog and the theremin?
Robert Moog, also as a teenager, he learned about this instrument, the theremin, and he built one. He actually started to produce the kit. It was I don't know, 1,000 of units. He made a little production of theremin kits that he would sell. That was his start, actually. That was his first instrument that he built in this electronic music. And that actually evokes his love to electronic music. And then during his whole life, he was always building the theremins. Even during his synthesizer invention, he built several designs. And then in 1990s, he returned to build only theremins for a while. Because that was the time of live electronic, and he understood that the time of the theremin comes again. So that's why most of instruments reliable and available today are by Moog Music.
What was Professor Theremin's reaction when someone else was building his machine, commercializing it, making money from it, but also making it accessible? What was his reaction?
Well, it was much later in the time, of course. Theremin had his production of the theremin, RCA theremin, in 1930s, actually 1929, which wasn't very good time for producing anything in the United States. And then Theremin was returned back to Russia and had a hard time, was sent into prison, then was pretty close from the society, working for KGB and under secret projects. So that there was this whole time when he wouldn't be able to develop the theremin, you know. So when Robert Moog did his production, it was in 1950s, when Theremin was absolutely actually, it was unknown that he is still alive, so the theremin would be forgotten if Robert Moog wouldn't do this production, and there was such a war between those two worlds that Lefterman wouldn't know at that time anything what happens to the theremin in the United States, and Americans wouldn't know what happened to Lefterman behind the wall, eventually, much later, when there was perestroika and Lefterman could come abroad to the United States again, and he met Robert Moog. Of course, he was delighted about this whole development. How others could it be?
And did you meet Professor Theremin? Did you learn from him?
Yes, I was lucky to be his relative, and he taught me when I was young. It was actually really purpose of him to create a follower. So he was very strict in following this idea, and he would come every week and teach me. Yeah.
Do you remember what he would teach you?
Well, a lot of musics I learned from him, of course, because I was a child. I wouldn't know much music. For example, he would play the second melody of the Sixth Symphony by Tchaikovsky. That's something that I learned from him. So Lefterman called this melody the melody of love. That's what I learned from him.
And how would he teach you? First, did he teach you scales? How did he teach you to be disciplined?
His way of teaching was a lot of patience, The theremin is actually difficult, of course. If you start learning it, you play so long out of tune. So someone teaching has to have a lot of patience. And that's what Lefterman had. His way of teaching was to bring the love to this instrument. It's not about scales, no. It's not about hard work. It was about playing music together, or he would sit in the armchair, and I would play for him. So a very simple way, without any pressure. That was his way.
Do you remember what you played for him?
For example, Ave Maria by Schubert. So in this melody, for example, I remember that Lefterman taught me vibrato. You can hear that the theremin does this type of vocal, yes, vocal or violin vibrato. So when you do not play just a cold sound, but vibrate. So do the small movements of the right hand and make the sound really lively. And for the very last fragment of Ave Maria, he would ask me to play it non-vibrato. So that would be the ending.
Wow. I see that you're moving your right hand. You're moving some fingers like you're holding a guitar. Is that right?
Yeah, this is always the question that comes. Of course, I move my fingers, so the instrument doesn't see what I'm moving. I can move my head, anything, my elbow. So the instrument would react to any movements. But of course, with fingers, we can move quicker. Yeah, so we can play more virtuoso, more precise. And for that, there's a finger technique developed by Clara Rockmore, a student of Lev Theremin. She was actually the best theremin student in 1930s. So she started to move fingers towards the antenna. So not just the whole hand, but opening the fingers from closed position to the open position. And that makes opening the hand, actually. So you open the hand towards the antenna. And that's how everything between those edge positions are as many finger positions as you like. Yeah, 10, 100.
Do you reckon you could play us the start track? Because I'm thinking...
The start track was actually in the movie, was sung by vocal. But it sounds so much like the theremin. So this idea was in the air that it should sound like the theremin.
Fantastic. Tell me, has there been ever experiences? Now, there must be thousands of people in the past 100 years have played this instrument. Has anyone conjured up any ghosts?
To what? Do you mean?
By playing the theremin, like the attracted, sounds, sometimes sounds, or the unnatural or the supernatural.
You can hear the ghosts when you play two theremins together, for example, or you play with in the duet with sopran, for example, and play very high in very similar frequencies. Then you would hear the third sound coming like a ghost arising in the...
Has anyone ever experienced any supernatural phenomena?
That's something, this idea very often comes, that the theremin should be somehow related with other materials. I've been sometimes asked for composing music for like other planets or for meditations that should bring some maybe some connections, but I think in general the theremin belongs to everything in this life, to any kind of music, to any level of life, and it depends on a particular person who wants to hear or wants to play it, you know.
Back in the day in Russia, what was Stalin's reaction to the theremin?
Stalin, I think Stalin, we don't know the reaction of Stalin. We know that Lev Termen played for Lenin, Vladimir Lenin, in Kremlin, and Lenin's reaction was very good. So it was in 1922, and he said, this is the new way for proletarian music. Electronic music is the new way, because electricity plus proletarian dictator was the idea of Lenin. And he gave this he gave this order to Lev Termen to go and play concerts everywhere in the country. Stalin was probably not that musical. We don't know his reaction to the theremin, but Stalin knew about several other Lev Termen's inventions, because Lev Termen, of course, developed not only musical inventions. He also did alarm systems. He also worked on a television system at that time. So in 1925, we know that he presented in Kremlin his television device, and people could see how Stalin walks in the yard. People could see it in the room, in the distance. So we know that Stalin knew Lev Termen. And later, Stalin gave a Stalin Prize to Lev Termen for another invention of his the overhearing device, actually, bug. Yeah. But that was in late 1940s.
And moving on, and so he went to America, and what did he achieve in America as a theremin player?
Yeah, that was very interesting time. Of course, very rich with inventions, with connections, with events. Lev Termen moved there as a successful musician, successful inventor, and he created a studio in Manhattan. He had students, dozens of students. He organized concerts where his students played in the ensemble, large ensembles like 10 theremins, 16 theremins. They played in Carnegie Hall. And his studio, of course, he had labor for his other developments, and this labor was called Teletouch Corporation. That explains one of his projects, Teletouch. So to transfer touch scene through the distance. So there were, of course, there was a lot of work, and at the same time he stayed Soviet citizen, and his second life in the parallel was that he had to inform KGB about everything he learned everywhere in the high society he was. So that was unfortunate, but perhaps others couldn't be possible for him to move around.
Right. Yeah. So because of his fame within that musical instrument, but I'm wondering whether the American sort of military were interested in him as an inventor as well.
So at least he did some inventions for American prisons, for example. There were some security, some alarm systems that were in use, yes. And also the automatic doors in Philadelphia rail station, for example. So,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Where the doors just
Yeah,
go from...
yeah, just open. What we know now so well. Yes, yes, that was the Theremin. So most of his inventions were working in the distance, like teletouch, television, the Theremin.
Right, interesting. Right, and what are the technicalities of the scale? For example, can you show us a scale?
The scale on the Theremin, yeah.
What scale is that?
Well, without knowing the first note, I cannot say. I cannot tell because I don't have the perfect pitch, as I have a absolute music ear, but I have the relative music ear, but not the absolute, not the perfect pitch.
I understand that you perform with and. So
Yeah.
you're doing another one.
No, I just have to tune it a little bit because it gets warmer. And,
Oh,
yeah.
okay. You have to tune the instrument.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And you perform. Tell us about your journey in music.
Well, I was classically educated. I had my
Russia?
Yes, in Russia. I was born in Moscow, and that's why I actually knew Theremin, who also lived in Moscow in his later times, and I learned. I studied at music academy and then conservatory, piano, music theory, composition.
Was it strict?
Did
you have to know everything? Was it strict? I mean, the teaching. How were you taught?
Strict teachers. So I had so many different teachers, of course. Musicians normally study for a very long period, and there are so many different teachers and so many subjects you have to learn. Yeah, but this all allowed me to use the theremin on the professional level. In particular, when you have composers who write for the instrument, they contemporary composers sometimes write really difficult, so you have to be able to hear it as everything and be counting.
You need to be able to read.
Yes, of course.
Read the music.
How can you be a professional musician and not read music?
In the rock world, there are some musicians that can't read music. For example, I mean notation, stuff like that. They'll know.
Well, they would benefit if they can. Yeah, if they could, it would be for their benefit, really.
Is there anyone else in the world that plays the theremin?
Oh, there are many thereminists today. Yes, I would say the popularity of the theremin grew in the recent 25 years, about like that, maybe 30 years. And today we have dozens of theremin professionalists in all different styles: jazz musicians, rock musicians, classical thereminists. They're very good player. There's very good player in Germany, Karolina Eick, and Hollander Torvald Jorgensen, for example. So they are probably among the best.
And what about in the past? Were there a lot of theremin players in the past?
Well, there were some famous thereminists in the past. Among them, or actually the star of them, between them, was Clara Rockmore, I mentioned earlier. She was actually the violinist first, and from very early age she was already concertizing, and later she brought this love to music. She brought into the theremin, and she played really virtuoso pieces like Sonata by Frank. César Franck violin sonata, and she wanted to play mostly classic, actually. So that there was one very virtuoso, especially written for her composition, concerto for theremin and orchestra by Anis Foulian. So that was in the past, but there was also a very interesting figure, Samuel Hoffman, who played the theremin in most of Hollywood movies at that time. For example, Spellbound by Hitchcock, The Day the Earth Stood Still. That probably exactly the sounds that most of Americans would know the theremin from those movies.
I imagine that
by his performance by Samuel Hoffman.
I imagine that it was quite suspense. Do you remember it?
The sound, yes. So, for example, Spellbound is like. So like this.
Do you remember that scene? Yeah, I was checking your videos and all about it while I was waiting upstairs, and I nearly clicked on buying one, the
nice.
Moog one.
Okay, yeah.
But it's not available yet. Maybe I'll think about it first. We get to know more about it before I purchase.
Well,
You're
that
welcome.
comes up to the next question. We're going to get into the types of theremin. And very quickly, what's it like playing in an orchestra? You know, I mean, firstly, you need your space, I know. But do other musicians look at you and just wonder?
Yeah, that's a good question. Playing in the orchestra, the first difficulty is to find the sufficient space, because the theremin needs space. You see, I have to move everyone in the orchestra at least 1.5 meters so that they don't affect this field. And this is for, yeah, you can, yeah, that's you. And this is absolutely new for other musicians, because they normally, they would need space. So if they see space, they would feel it. But nowadays, musicians are mostly in knowledge about the theremin, so they would know about it.
There's another thing. There's a lot of information about electrostatic stuff. You know, everywhere is electrostatics. And that's quite interesting.
Yeah, well, the theremin can be affected by other devices, like by dimmers of the light, for example. So sometimes we have to to fight with interferences that comes, and so that there are some ghosts around this antenna. Then
tell us about the different types of theremin.
Sorry. A little bit more water. And this is my friend Alina, by the way. She's one of my students, so she plays the theremin too.
Fantastic. Tell us about the different types of theremin.
Well, as any musical instruments, some theremins are more professional, some are less. Well, there's actually a big variety. You can buy a pocket theremin that is very little one, and that would have just one antenna, so like to show focus pocus, yeah. And
what's focus pocus?
Focus pocus like this.
Kids would love it.
Yes. for example, the Russian wooden doll Matryoshka. The Japanese factory Mandarin Electronics, they buy Russian dolls and they built in the theremin inside. And this is very popular in Japan, and it's called matremin. So the theremin inside the matryoshka.
Can you show us how it sounds?
So that sounds actually the same way as the theremin, maybe just smaller range, like range up to here, about like that. But because there's no volume control, they would have to play all the time, like starting from glissando, from zero frequencies, like. So without interrupting, without particular crescendo or diminuendo, So this would be a matremin. On another end, there are professional instruments like this one. This is T-Vox Tour, built by Georgy Pavlov, which is my husband. So it was built in Moscow, little production for 150 units. It's already some age, about 25 years old.
Is it still available?
Well, only secondhand. So it was built at that time, 25 years ago. So another very professional instrument by Moog, for example, is called EasyWave Pro, so professional. Also, it's not in the production anymore, but if you find the secondhand, that will be one of the best instruments. Yeah.
What are we talking? In a range of thousands of dollars.
Yeah. So such instruments, professionals, they cost thousands. But today you can buy more recent and simpler designs, which are not that professional, but good for start. For example, EasyWave Theremin by Moog Music, and Theremin by Moog Music. But there are also some new interesting developments where there's much more digital technology inside. For example, DLEF. DLEF is new development, new project where you actually get the details and can assemble it yourself, but you can program it to your needs. So if you know your needs, if you can put it all together, then there's a perfect instrument.
For the absolute beginner, which Moog would you?
EasyWave Theremin. That's how the latest Moog Music production theremin use. Yeah, EasyWave Theremin.
What about the theremin? What's the difference?
Oh, theremin is smaller. That's why it's called theremin. And it has a lot of synthesizer sounds in it. So you can really play with noises or strange sounds. So it is half theremin, half synthesizer, let's say.
Yes.
Yeah.
But the EasyWave Theremin Moog is more traditional based.
It's more traditional, yeah.
Are we talking in the thousands, that one, or hundreds?
No, I'm not quite sure. It's maybe something like 500, something like that.
Okay, interesting. How does one learn? Where does one learn?
Well, the theremin is different than other instruments in the way that it is not important to be a child to learn it. It's better to be actually more grown up and also to have something already, some musical experience, because you see, you play the theremin by your ears, so you have to have something in your ear. You have to have some clear musical image. So then and the mechanical, physical memory is not that important, but the control of your ear is important. So on another hand,
give us an example. What do you mean by that?
What I mean, for example, I want to play a melody. I have to have very clear image, audio image of it. For example, arpeggio, let's say, yeah. So I should be able to sing it, for example, yeah, like. So I have to imagine this sound, and then I would look for this sound here, like. So I just show it very obvious, but like you would look for it and meet it. Of course, professionals do it quicker, but so since you find the first note, and you build this way each next note. So, but before playing it, you have to have it very clear in your mind, you know. And it's not about saying how you have to move. It's about making music, you know. That's why it is much. It's very much possible to learn online in internet by a visual example. So much more possible than other traditional instruments. And that allows today with internet to learn the theremin everywhere in the world. And of course, there are some teachers, and I teach a lot. I do regular workshops for the theremin. So there are people from all over the world, they meet online, and I teach the theremin this way.
Practical. Has this ever been taken to space?
Sorry, say again.
Has this ever been taken to the International Space Station?
Not the theremin itself, but theremin music, yes. Theremin music was taken by the first the Armstrong when he flew to the moon. That's why in the movie about this flight, the movie is called The First Man. There's this melody played on the theremin. So, by the way, the composer, Justin Horwitz, played this melody for the soundtrack by his own.
Wow, that sounds amazing. And I've heard of it. I've heard that. Any documentaries you can recommend or films?
The best documentary about Theremin and about his story, but also with a lot of playing Clara Rockmore in this movie, is by Steve Martin. Documentary was created in 1993, and it's called Theremin, an Electronic Odyssey. The premiere was in Channel 4 in the United Kingdom.
Wow. And what about you? What's the future? What are your plans, music, and what are your plans for the future?
Well, plans are to teach more students and to play more new written music, because it is the only way for me to open new possibilities of the instrument when I play more and more written, especially music written for this instrument. Each composer brings something new.
What are your favorite moments to perform? I mean, do you like performing live or in the studio or composing? What do you like to do?
I like to play live. Yes, the theremin is such an attraction to see, you know. So it is a special moment for audience to see and to be amazed. So it is really worth seeing live.
Thank you very much. Lydia, any final words, comments?
Well, just going to listen to more theremin music, and I learned this very unusual way. Oh, yeah.
Thank you very much. Brilliant. I'm definitely going to get one. Oh, which one? So you recommend the easy wave, right?
Yeah, easy wave.
Expensive.
Yeah, well,
Theremin.
For you, I would recommend Theremin, because Theremin would give you more effects, Yeah.
Stuff like that. And the other one less. The other one's more like
The other one is more classical way. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much. I'm really sorry about that. I mean, I remember I dropped it because it was on here and it fell. And I thought before it fell, I thought, it could fall. But I thought it would fall, and then it did. Oh, never mind. But anyway, good. Thanks for your time.
Yes, you're welcome.
This podcast is sponsored by Camera Museum of London and Tang Cigars of 44 Museum Street, London. Thank you for listening to a Fish Out of Water podcast. This is your host, Richard Lipman. Should you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, please get in touch.